another episode of Commercial Property 2023. Wow, what has it? It's been a tumultuous year in 2022, and 2023 we are going to see some excellent opportunities. We're going to see some changes in the market, and we're going to see some emerging areas and markets that's going to come in and perform fairly strong. Now, before the end of Christmas, I did a huge drive. I did 3 days into regional Adelaide, then I flew into North Queensland, and I did Cairns to Sunshine Coast, inland into Emerald, into Blackwater, into Dysart, into Gladstone, and then coming down. So I've done a massive trip all around Australia, and this is one of the big differences that Unikorn has, is that we are on the road and we are actually seeing areas that are new and emerging and ready to invest in this 2023. I believe that the market is just open now in commercial property. We're getting agents coming back. We're talking to a lot of agents at the moment, and what we'll see in the next 2 weeks is that we're going to see some listings come through, and that the new yield will be defined in the market somewhere around mid-February. So listen out when I do another secondary update somewhere around February about where the market is heading in 2023. But we have some exciting opportunities in 2023, and one of the big exciting opportunities that I want to talk about is uplift, right? So previously, with last year, the interest rate being so low, what we've seen is that owner occupiers are going in and actively investing in commercial property for owner occupiers, and they're paying more than for tenants in there, for tenanted properties. So as a result of that, what's happened is that that uplift market and that margins got squeezed so small that people stopped doing uplifts, right? So now we are going to see in 2023 that market open up, but not all partial vacant property are made equal. A lot of them have structural issues. A lot of them, a simple refurb won't do. A lot of them may have footing issues. A lot of them may have layout issues that cannot be laid out. Some of them are restricted by, use, by going up or out. And some of them are restricted by things like access and parking and trading hours, and also just depending on what the hub is, right? So there's going to be many varieties, and we are best placed. Like, there's no one else in the Australian market, if you're watching this video, that can do uplift like I do, like my team does, because we've done it with our clients. We've coached them, and this is many years of experience in how to do not just simple office space or retail space, put tenant in there, but also whole buildings, also turning whole warehouses into storage. So we know everything there is to know about uplift, right? Because we have someone who is on building in our company. We've got someone who does the due diligence. But I think this is where the real opportunity is where that if you can save or stave off some instant gratification from the cash flow, and you can tweak your property, whether it is changing the lease, whether it is putting a new tenant in there because the current tenant doesn't suit, whether it is do a refurb and put a new tenant in there, whether it's building a mezzanine floor, whether it's dividing a large one into two, putting in phone towers or ATMs or anything else, extensions at the back, any of those things, and you can not forgo the cash flow up at the front end. There's much more to gain on the back end, but you got to realize that you got to have a risk tolerance. You got to understand that's the most important, education and foundation around commercial property, and you got to have a team of support and mentorship behind you. Plus, what you also need is to have enough cash, and this is something to be worked out for your personal situation, to be able to do the uplift, because at the back end is anywhere from 20 to 40%. It's literally development profits, but much easier because you're not breaking dirt, you're not doing any of those excavating or big things, right? So I think that's going to be the massive opportunity, and that will come up more and more in the next, I say, 6 months to 9 months, because people are going to be scared as the interest rate goes up of taking up these vacant properties because it's so expensive in terms of holding costs. But if you know what you're looking for and you can buffer for it, and you've got all the equations and you run the scenarios like we do, then you know exactly what you can get. And at the other end, there's a lot of demand. So what we'll have is there'll be less demand and fear around people buying uplift properties because they don't know about the tenancy and everything else. But if you know the area, and it's a routine, it's a system, you can apply to it, You know what the results you're going to get in 12 months. You just need to make sure you create the buffer for it and you have the cash flow for it to do it. So once you have that, the back end is 20 to 40%, but there'll be a more of a demand of people searching for security more than anything else in 2023, especially as the market continues to go up. I think we're going to see interest rates go until the middle of the year, and then it may stabilize. And during that time, people are going to search for secure cash flow. And if you can deliver secure cash flow in commercial property, people are going to pay a premium for that because they want that security more than anything else. So it's a prime market for uplift, right? So that is where I think that's the opportunity in 2023. Also, we're going to see some metro areas who hasn't compressed, right, who will be great buying in the first half of this year. So, potentially not in Brisbane, if and that's a caveat, right? There is always a if, because there's good deals that pop up in areas of Gold Coast, Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, even though the market is really hot there already, right? But I believe that, we're looking at other states now. We're looking into, areas of Adelaide. We're looking at areas in Melbourne. Those two areas that haven't had the same yield compression will get that yield compression later on in the year. Now, there's a lot of investment in activity already into Adelaide. There's a lot of investment activity starting in Melbourne towards late last year, and that will continue this year. And I think by the end of this year, 2023, what we're going to see is those yields in those markets come down and the capital growth really kick back up, because those markets haven't aligned itself with Sydney and also in Brisbane. But, we can also explore areas into Perth. Perth yield at the moment is matching yields on the East Coast. So there is not that much incentive for a quarter or 0.5%. It's often not enough incentive for people to go and invest into Perth. But I think that there's a lot of activities coming up, and then we're going to see that Perth potentially, when the right deals come up, there will be some deals into Perth that is worth investing into. So we're going to see those areas open up, and hopefully, Sydney will adjust itself a little bit about fringes or even into regional New South Wales. We're kind of hopeful that we're going to see some opportunities come up this year that didn't last year, because the Sydney market, it's always so hot because people want the stability of investing into Sydney. It's driven everything else around it up. So hopefully that will wane off a little bit with interest rate, because people just cannot afford to invest into 5% yielding properties. That will actually take the heat out of the market, and we'll be able to come back into somewhere like Sydney or even Newcastle or Wollongong, where they're actually trading at exactly the same rate as Sydney, like 4.5% to 5.5%, which is not sustainable when you have a mortgage on a property, right? We're going to see some great regional areas come up. So these great regional areas are like these large regional areas. We've seen in the last 12 months that the Townsville has compressed a lot, and they'll continue to compress for a little bit longer to go. But they've already compressed a lot in the last 2 years. There's still some more left in the market. We're going to see some fluctuations in the Townsville market in terms of the yield, but also that's also reflected in other regional areas as it comes up. So we've got areas around the large regional towns that last year I visited: the Eyre, the Bowens, the Gordon Vales, around the Emeralds, around Gladstones, so those big areas are going to come up, Mackay, Gladstone, areas of Cairns. Those areas are going to become good performers in terms of an investment for commercial property. However, you've got to be able to look and assess the tenant plus the yield, because the tenant and the yield is very related to what the area is going to bring. Right. So Mackay is a great area. I went there. I'm going to go back there again this year and spend some time there, really get to know the area. We've already got clients who invest into Mackay, but Mackay's changed quite a bit, and we're going to go back into that area a fair bit more. But just in terms of understanding those areas, sometimes we're looking at it, say for example, investing to a law firm, or we're investing into an accounting, or even just a coffee shop. We're looking at Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne. They're probably, if you get to 6% is really good, and then if you got to 7 in Mackay, that's great. But no, it's going to need to be an 8, right? It's going to need to be closer to an 8. You've got to readjust and realign yourself when you're investing to Metro. So really, to sum up, our investment opportunity this year, the big investment opportunity is going to be uplift, right? But when you do uplift, make sure you get education, make sure you get mentorship, make sure you get a team behind you, because everything costs an extra 0 if you get it wrong, and you're going to stretch out your vacancy rate. So without all of that, you're not going to really get anywhere, right? So if you want to do uplift, invest in education, invest in understanding, invest in foundations, get a mentorship, get a team behind you when you do your first project. If you're doing set and forgets, we've got your metro areas. We're going to see Melbourne, Adelaide. They're going to be really great opportunities. We're going to see ACT will come up as a great opportunity as well. They always consistently perform, and they're pretty consistent with terms of what they deliver in terms of stability, in terms of tenancy. So for someone looking for security, ACT is really, really great. Perth, there'll be opportunities around Perth. And then, of course, regional areas, we're looking, your Gladstones, your Mackays. You're going to look at your Cairns, of course, Townsville. Rocky's still going to be pretty flat, hit and miss, depending on what you're looking at. We're going to have Bundaberg. Bundaberg has, it's a sleeping giant, has a lot of opportunities there as well. So there's quite a few of the larger regional towns in Queensland. And then, of course, going back into New South Wales and Victoria, we've got along the Great Ocean Road, there's going to be some great opportunities there. We're going to see some stuff that's going to come through in regional New South Wales, like your Oranges, your Dubbos, your Maitlands, your Singletons, plus your Woggers, and obviously Albury-Wodonga is going to be a strong performer again this year. So a lot of stuff happening in this market. If you are starting out in commercial property, I advise you strongly to check out helentarrant.com, the website, unikorn.com.au, to really get where our next event's going to be. Join one of our next events. You learn heaps on commercial property. Order my book, Hashed Up with Commercial Property. There's a link below on it, because when you order that book, that's going to give you the ins and outs of commercial property, the preliminary stuff, right? The preliminary stuff. And then I really encourage you, join one of our, one of the things I'm doing this year is that we are going to have a subscription service for our clients who want the latest hotspots, who want the latest news in all the areas on commercial property, who want to be able to have professional teams behind them to be able to really get into deals faster, right? So if you want interest in that, reach out to us. You want to be, you're really serious in that for a minimal fee a month, you are going to get the benefit of having a professional team behind you. So on that note, I will see you next week for another topic on commercial property. I am going to start traveling this week, and we're going to be starting to look at different areas on commercial property. So we will see you at the next event next week, same time, same place. And in the meantime, hit the bell, subscribe, get other people onto this channel, learn as much as you can on commercial property. Reach out to us if you want a strategy session. Let us help you. Together, let's build a cash flow rich portfolio through commercial property. So until next time, Happy New Year. So much opportunity, such excitement, and I look forward to helping you with your commercial property journey. Bye for now.